All right, for my Life in the Hive audience, it's Shark Time. Shark Time has arrived. All right. Because we are discovering new species of sharks. Pretty cool. New shark species emerging from the deep. Look at this cool looking shark here. Looks the eyes remind me of a Greenland shark's eyes. Deep sea, you know. More and more new species of sharks are being discovered as humanity peers deeper into the ocean. It was a mystery that began with an egg. In 1989, scientists in Australia found a curious kind of mermaid's purse, a leathery egg case which some species of sharks lay instead of giving birth to live young. The empty egg case had one of the most unique features, a row of prominent ridges along the top. The egg had been found off the Rowley Shoals, a group of atolls on the edge of a continental shelf in the East Timor Sea, a few hundred kilometers off the northeast coast of Australia. They offered up more questions than they did answers. What had laid them? Where did it live? And why did its egg case have such a distinctive appearance? It would be more than 30 years before the scientists would finally find out the most basic of these questions. And in doing so, discover a completely new shark species. More than 2 decades into the 21st century, humanity is still finding new species of the ocean's most impressive hunters. As recently as the mid-1980s, science had settled on around 360 species of sharks, ranging from the deep sea featherweights like the 20 centimeter, 8-inch long dwarf lantern shark to the enormous plankton feeding whale shark, the largest species of fish in the ocean. But in little more than 40 years, this number has jumped to nearly 40%. There are more than 500 known species, and the number of new shark species shows no signs of dropping off. This new wave of discovery rivals that of the golden age of exploration. It is as much a byproduct of painstaking work in the archives of museum collections as it is peering into the deep waters of the world's ocean. Take the shark that laid the mysterious ridged egg case, for instance. Will White, the senior curator of Australia's National Fish Collection at CSIRO, Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization in Hobart, Australia, was part of the team that connected the dots. After being discovered during a survey at Rowley Shoal, the egg case had been... Hold on. Sorry about that. The egg case had been disseminated to museum archives without anyone looking much further into the case's strange ridge. Here's the egg case right here. The ridge top of the egg case may help protect the embryo while it's growing. That's what this caption says. In 2011, a researcher called Brett Human was volunteering at the Western Australia Museum in Perth when he came across the ridged shark egg case. While it was similar to eggs laid by another species of shark, that animal had never been found in Australian waters. Human linked the eggs... so I'm going to be messed up by calling him Human. Human linked the egg case to other eggs which had been found off Australia, and narrowed down the species to possibly being a member of the cat shark family, but he could not determine the exact species. He first described the case and did a very good effort of trying to narrow it down. He did a lot better than what a lot of people would have, actually, said White. Nothing happened on that until we started looking at the case with colleague Helen O'Neill. Even then, I was like, I think I'm barking up the wrong tree looking at cases. No one's really done it. There's probably a reason why. They found a developing embryo inside an egg case with the same telltale ridge. It turned out that CSIRO had also been sent an example of the egg case in the 1980s, and no one had done further research. It wasn't until I started looking at the collection data that I realized they're actually from the same survey. It was collected from the same location on the same day. White and his colleagues knew the egg recovered in the 1980s had come from a certain depth between 410 meters or 1,345 feet and 504 meters or 1,640 feet, and started looking for sharks which had been caught at the same depth. The CSIRO collection had what was thought to have been a South China cat shark, which turned out to have been pregnant when it was caught. The scientists dissected it and found developing embryo inside an egg case with some of the same telltale ridge as the one discovered years before in Raleigh Shoals. The detective work proved it was a completely new species, and the mystery that Australian shark scientists had been scratching their heads over for the last 30 years was finally solved. The sinister-looking cat shark is thought to lay the eggs on coral hundreds of meters below the surface. It took us like 2 days to work it out, says White. The thing is, you've got to be looking specifically for it. The adult of that group is a very very subtly different, he says. The species now has a scientific name. A common name is due to follow, and was unveiled in the Journal of Fish Biology in April of 2023. This new variety of demon cat shark, otherwise known as a Prosturus ovicorgatus, is thought to dwell around 700 meters, 2,297 feet beneath the surface, laying its egg cases over coral in water too deep for sunlight to penetrate. White says this family of sharks is particularly hard to research because they are so elusive and because the differences between species can be so subtle. With this group in particular, we're actually down into looking at aspects of the digestive tract and liver shape and stuff like that. You're definitely getting desperate when you start getting into characters like that, White says. The demon cat shark is not the only new cat shark species to have turned up. He says that the current experts on this group of sharks all liaise with each other and talk with each other because identifying new species can be such a challenge. The other thing, unfortunately, is that you do get some specimens in collections that all you got is the fixed preserved specimen. You don't actually have a fresh photo. That demon cat sharks we describe are lucky because we had a fresh photo as well. The demon cat shark was not the only discovery White had a part in identifying recently. Another species, a type of horn shark, was caught in surprisingly deep water off Australia's western coast in a survey last year. Horn sharks tend to like living in shallow waters, often sitting on the seafloor in kelp forest, but this new species was found at 150 meters or 500 feet. But that's nothing compared to what may lie ahead, White says. The demon cat shark is not the only new species of cat sharks to have turned up. We've actually found another new species of the same genus, also with ridged egg cases, but different ridged egg cases off Queensland. So we're working on that now, he says. The new species of horned shark there discovered in the deep water, which other horned sharks appear to avoid. This article's a lot longer than I remember it being. All right. I'm going to have to take a drink. I've got a feeling that another one from Queensland, it's new, from the same genus. And I think there is another one in Western Australia. It's either new or it's a new record of a species poorly known from elsewhere in the world, says White. The waters around Australia aren't the only ones offering up new shark species. On the other side of the Indian Ocean, German shark scientist Simon Wigman of the Erasmus Branch Research Laboratory in Hamburg helped to discover 2 new species of saw sharks, bizarre-looking creatures armed with long snouts or rostrums studded with sharp teeth off the southeastern coast of Africa. The saw sharks were found with the help of a colleague, Ruth Leaney, from the Anderson Cabot Center of Ocean Life, who had been researching new species of related sawfish off the coast of Madagascar. Sawfish are a type of ray distantly related to sharks. One of her colleagues called her because fishermen had preserved for her 2 rostra of what they thought were sawfish. Wigman says, and when she saw the photos, she immediately recognized these were not sawfish, but saw sharks, which are also very interesting finding because saw sharks are not caught all day long. The saw sharks had had some interesting details. Instead of the 5 gill slits most sharks possess, they had 6, an evolutionary echo from a much older shark species that lived millions of years ago. They also had small fleshy tendrils known as barbels far closer to the tip of the rostrum than is found in other species of saw shark. It's very special because saw sharks are not common. You only have a few species, Simon Wigman said. To confirm his hunch, this might be a new species, Wigman traveled to London, to London's Natural History Museum, which has a saw shark caught more than 100 years ago, which is in remarkably good condition. It was quite clear that the barbels are close to the mouth, as had been described for that species, says Wegman, referring to the Natural History Museum's example. How whatever Liddy's colleague had photographed in the fish market in Madagascar, it looked like it was a new species. Further research from specimens in other collections in South Africa also seemed to support this. Then another shark researcher, Andrew Temple, from the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia, got in touch. We had found a saw shark off of Zanzibar in Tanzania, where they had made a survey for the local fishermen's landings, even different from the ones that we had just found, says Wegman. So we did okay, maybe it's just an unusual specimen, or maybe it's a second new species, he says. This is the species. The new species of saw sharks have several notable differences to the species already known to science. It's very special because saw sharks are not common and you only have a few species. Wegman added another relevant point. They look very cool. It was not scientists like Wegman who had first noticed that there was something different, however. It was the Madagascan fishermen who had caught them. It was really important that we had the local fishermen providing this material. If they had not collected the rostra or later landed the specimens that were picked up in Zanzibar, we would not have noticed. It would have I would have tried to examine all the other museum material. I would just not have noticed that there was something different. More sharks may yet be waiting to be discovered in the deep. Many of the saw sharks that have been discovered so far live relatively far down in the ocean, as deep as 300 meters or 1,000 feet. But the species off Zanzibar were caught less than 30 meters or 100 feet from the surface. We think they might have come to shallower depths for the night, which is typical for many groups of marine organisms, says Wegman. I think it's the biggest movement of animals in the world, this vertical movement that you have in the ocean at night. There are also many sharks known to exhibit vertical movement, so I think during the day they might occur deeper, but we do not know because we only have them from this depth. And that makes them even more vulnerable to commercial fisheries, said Wegman. This is much more to this discovery. I don't know what I read there. There is much more to this discovery than an addition to the known species in a reference book or on display in a museum. Wegman uses the example of the blue skate, a type of ray from the North Atlantic that was relatively common until commercial fisheries decimated its numbers. The population collapsed, he says. And then about 10 years ago, some scientists even noticed that there were 2 species lumped under this name. So all the fisheries statistics that you had population status, you could not work with anymore because you could not know was it the one species or the other species. And that makes taxonomic research and describing new species so important, he says. There's a megamouth shark. The megamouth shark, one of the biggest species alive today, was not discovered until 1976. More sharks may yet be waiting to be discovered in the deep, and not all of them may be as small as the meter-long cat shark awaiting classification. In 2021, scientists discovered 3 new species of deep-sea sharks that glowed in the dark, including one that can grow up to 1.8 meters or 5.9 feet. It is also less than 50 years since researchers discovered a strange shark tangled in sea anchors of the U.S. Navy ship off of Hawaii. The shark in question, the nearly 15-foot-long, 4.5 meter, as a species that has never been seen before, a filter feeder that swam with its jaws agape. A shark scientist called Leighton Taylor dubbed it the megamouth shark. The species is now considered to be one of the largest growing species to be found. What else could be waiting for shark scientists far below the ocean surface? All right, so new species of sharks. That's been waiting till the end of the show and the end of the month for us to cover it here on EcoNews, New Species of Sharks popping up. Thank you so much for joining me for this show, and please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you Wednesday night for Creation Watch, on Friday night for Cryptic Corner, and on Saturday morning for Live from the Hive.